Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. I'm Lauren Feldman. I'm here with Gene Marks to talk about the stories and issues we think business owners should be following this week. Welcome, Gene.
Hello, Lauren. It's good to speak with you. I'm excited because later this week I'm going to be speaking to the Funeral Directors of Florida Association. So watch out.
What are you going to tell them, Gene?
That business is killing them. It's killing them.
They're killing it.
I got a million jokes. I'm going to talk for like 5 minutes. They're going to kick me right out of the room. I'm going to make a few jokes.
I'm sure there'll be jokes that they've never heard before.
Right. Exactly right. They'll fall asleep. No, I'm actually talking to them about workplace and culture and how to attract employees and retain employees, because funeral businesses are legit, genuine, growing, important businesses, and they got the same problems that the rest of us have, right?
I could imagine it might be harder to attract employees to a business like that. Not everybody's going to want to do that, I suspect.
People are dying to work in that industry.
There we go.
All right. Bada boom.
We'll be eager to hear your report. Are you going to write about this experience, Gene?
Possibly, yeah. Possibly. That'll be something that I plan on, I'm thinking about it. So we'll see.
We will be watching for that. All right. You recently did a podcast in which you talked about how businesses are shifting to digital and text messaging marketing. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so first of all, this is going to be a self-serving discussion, Lauren, because, I remember years ago, like I like to share with you like some of the stuff that I do, and that I feel like I remember I launched a platform that failed miserably after spending like six figures on it for like live training.
It was training for Zoho CRM, right?
Yep. And went and did the whole thing and everything, and nobody came, and it was just I had to take it down, and it was a big failure.
Did you decide it was a marketing failure, or that the...
Yeah, what my lessons learned from that, by the way, is it was a research failure. It was a market, not knowing the market failure. Do you know what I mean? On my part, 100% my...
Interesting. What didn't you know?
What I didn't know is that nobody has a desire for that kind of a training service.
Good thing
right?
to know.
When there's so much available online and on demand and whatever, who's going to pay for it? When there's so much free stuff out there, I thought that people would pay if it's that much better, but it's there's a perception that it's not going to be that much better. So it was hard to compete against free. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
But listen, let's not talk about the past, Lauren. Now you see, you're putting me in a bad mood. I was in a good mood before we started talking. Now I'm in a bad mood and it's your fault. You brought it up. But it's text messaging. The reason why I brought up my failure is because I'm going to do it again now. And again, I'm trying not to make the same mistakes this time, but I'm going to bring on a new product line for my business, and it is going to be a text messaging application that integrates with the CRMs that I sell. There are a few of them that are out there. They're called, SMS Magic is one, Tatango is another, Twilio is another, and these are text messaging applications that I believe not only fulfill a need, but I took a big survey this time. What a concept of my clients. And we asked them if this was something they would pay for. And sure enough, many of them said it's something that they would. Because text messaging is, think about it this way. If you're using a CRM system, a customer relationship management system, say you're using Zoho or Salesforce or Insightly or Sugar or Dynamics, whatever, maybe you're emailing out of it or you've integrated it with Outlook, so good for you, but your texts are probably not coming in there. And perfect example, like you and I were just texting before this recording, and that's just on my phone. It's nowhere else, And if you were a client of mine and we were texting about an issue or question or whatever, I would want that to be in my CRM system so that not only do I have a history of it, but also other people on my team can see that. It's an important part of messaging. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And none of these CRMs really seem to do it very well or out of the box or at all. And which is why text messaging itself is it is a significant part of communications for businesses. We all know that. And there is, the thing that I have to be careful about is I have to be careful about how I use it, because sometimes it's annoying, right? Like, I can't just be blasting out texts to people that haven't opted in to get text from me. That's a bad thing. I mean, worse than sending spam email, because people get pretty ornery when it's their phones. You know what I mean?
Well, that is what I was going to ask. You're talking about a CRM system. So you're talking about using this with employees who would presumably be using their personal phone. Do they want to attach their personal phone to the company's CRM?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's their personal. Yeah, I mean, the answer is they would have to, and I don't think that's. I haven't had any pushback from my people. The key is that if they're having a communication, we talk about CRM, it's customer relationship management. So if I have clients and they have said, yeah, sure, Gene, I'll opt into your text messages. My text messaging will only be things that I want to make sure are pertinent to my clients. Like, oh, there's a problem with Zoho. You need to check this out. Do you know what I mean? Or, we just released this new video that I know would be of interest to you. Some people just prefer to get communications via text messaging, nowadays, and it's there. The other thing that I also find intrigues me about text messaging is I sometimes get leads from people, and I try to reach them by email, and my emails don't get through because they'll get blocked by a spam folder or bounce back or whatever.
Sure.
But then I've got their mobile number, and I'll just text them and say, hey, you had reached out to us because you're interested in, you have some questions. I've emailed you, and I'll get a response back by text saying like, oh, I never received your email, but yeah, we need help. You know what I mean? So it's important. It's an important form of communications, and it's missing from so many small business CRMs. And I'm gonna sign on to this product line, and then I got to invest some money in getting people up to speed on how to configure it, and then do some marketing to promote it. So I'll keep you up to date on it as we move along.
Are you at all worried that there's a reason why the CRM systems haven't gone there yet? Maybe they've done some research that indicated people aren't interested in it?
Oh, shit. I didn't think about that, Lauren. Thanks. Great. All right. No.
Just here to help, Gene.
What a good point. I mean, like these guys, you would think they've got zillions of dollars and resources. They would be the first to jump on this, right? So, geez.
I do wonder why not. It does seem like a logical extension for them.
We'll see.
All right. Next topic. You recently wrote about why businesses should not be marketing on Twitter. You actually spend a good bit of time on Twitter and have a significant following there. So I'm curious about this. What's your thinking?
Well, a couple of things about Twitter, and I just want to make sure that we're aware. I do spend a significant amount of time on there. Why? Because I have an audience there. I mean, I write, and people that tend to follow news and opinions and things like that, they tend to go on Twitter. You, Lauren, same thing. With 21Ets, I mean, you go on, you promote your podcast on Twitter. If you and I
not terribly effectively, I might say.
Well, that's a whole other discussion. But with Twitter, like that's fine. There's an audience there for that kind of stuff, so that's fine. And if that's what your business is, providing content or news, or you've got an audience that's out, good. But listen, if you're selling office supplies, or I don't know, if your business is laminates, industrial film, I'm going to bet that you probably don't have a whole big audience on Twitter, and you should probably be, focusing, if you want to focus on social somewhere else, probably LinkedIn would be the place for you. Or if you're like a consumer facing business, you're a florist, or, you're a retail store, maybe Facebook is better for you. Or if you're a young Gen Z type and doing some type of creative stuff, maybe TikTok, is better for you. It really depends. Twitter is really onerous. I mean, Pew Research just came out with some numbers, which I thought was really interesting. 1 in 5 U.S. adults, about 23%, so maybe it's close to 1 in 4. Only 1 in 5 use the social media platform, Twitter. I mean, only 1 in 5. 4 out of 5 people, Lauren, almost 80% of Americans don't even use Twitter, And not only that, but among the U.S. adults who use Twitter, now this is Pew Research, the top 25% of users produce 97% of all the tweets. So it's like
they call it the Twitterverse. It's people in their own bubble talking to each other.
It's crazy. And the bottom 75% only produce 3% of the tweets. So you're like, wait, let me get this right. 80% of the people in this country aren't even using Twitter. The 20% that are, only a quarter of them, they're producing 97%. So that's why it amazes me whenever like the media reports about, somebody getting blasted on Twitter or people get upset if they, or if they go viral in a bad way on Twitter. And you're like, yeah, but that's like a really tiny percentage of the population, So the other thing is about Twitter is that the Pew Research found that the users there tend to skew to the left, not super hard left, but just generally to the left. So I guess my point is if you're a small business owner, just be aware that, if you're looking at Twitter as a place to be, there's not like a huge crowd that's on it when 80% of the country isn't even on it. And even then, the people that are active on it, who knows if they're even viable customers of yours. And also just be really careful because a lot of them, they do tend to lean to the left, which is fine if you do as well. And you're okay with that. But if you're a gun store, well, gun stores can't, really do much on Twitter if they're not allowed. But, if you're a business that might be somewhat of a right-leaning type of business, or you're a business owner with right-leaning, opinions, and you're voicing them on Twitter, you might wind up coming up against a bunch of people and it might be bad for your business. So it's
voicing those political opinions, whatever they are, might not be a good idea for a business owner, don't you think?
Whole other topic of conversation, and one that I'm going to revisit as we get closer to the elections, because that's always an issue every 2 years. And I just have to remind people to, it's funny because employees want you to be more active and involved, but just because your employees want you to do that doesn't mean they're right. And I think that the more that you get more involved in politics in your business, it's you're going to alienate half of your customers the way the world is right now. And Twitter is one of those places, so be careful if you're on Twitter.
Has it worked for you mostly? Do you feel like
not for my CRM business. Does nothing for my CRM business.
Yeah.
It's worked for me for the writing that I do and the content I provide. So, because I have two businesses. I have like a speaking business, so that
kind of media related.
So that's good for Twitter.
Makes sense.
But CRM business, my best, LinkedIn has been good.
I feel as though Twitter takes takes a lot of heat for all sorts of reasons, most of them deserved. But I kind of feel like if you use it smartly, you can make of it what you want to make of it. So I follow a lot of smart people on Twitter, and I feel like I get good information out of it, and I ignore all of the crap. And certainly there's a lot of crap, but I feel like I use it in a way that's helpful to me, and I think other people can probably do that too. But I like you, I don't really see it as a place to do any real marketing or community building.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Elon Musk does with the platform, and if he recognizes the fact that
he's not going to get the platform. He's trying to get out of it. I don't think he ever intended to buy it.
Yeah, you could be right. But if he does, I just don't see this being a business platform. It's a platform for communications and ideas, as long as it doesn't get too toxic. So again, this is a small business conversation. I just don't know if it's really the place for you, for most businesses.
Got it. All right. Next topic. On Friday, the latest jobs report came out, and the U.S. economy added 372,000 jobs.
I know. What the hell is going on?
Which is a lot of jobs, and we're all talking about a recession. What do you make of it, Gene?
First of all, everybody is shitting on President Biden, and yet, the economy is not a bad economy right now. But there's a lot. There is a lot of conflicting information, and let me explain to you what I mean. GDP last quarter fell like 1.6%. I'm tracking all these forecasts for GDP for the second quarter.
Meaning the first quarter of the year.
First quarter, correct. First quarter. Now I'm tracking forecasts for the second quarter, which are going to be coming out soon. And they are ranging between 0% growth and another minus 1.5% growth or negative growth, which would mean a recession.
That's the definition of a recession.
Yeah. So there's that. Meanwhile, our unemployment rate is still at very, very low levels at 3.6 or 3.8%.
Like the lowest it's been in 50 years.
Yeah. and employers are adding employees. Here's the other weird thing, the NFIB, National Federation of Independent Businesses, they have a large following. They do their reports. They just reported just last week that half of U.S. small businesses had job openings in June, half. And that completely dovetails in with what I am seeing of my clients. They have, they're all looking for people. Meanwhile, 3 weeks ago, the same organization, NFIB, reported that small business owners' expectations for the future, their optimism looking forward, is at a 48-year low, right? So you've got all
You don't expect people to be hiring and have openings at a time when they think the economy is as bad as it can be.
Absolutely. You're like, I can't get my arm. I don't know what to believe. And then, there's the tech industry is laying a lot of people off. The construction industry.
So far, largely confined to the tech industry, especially startups.
Absolutely right, because funding is drying up because of the cost of capital, and then which they had a wild party for the past 15 years. So now it's coming to roost. And then you've got industries like the construction industry where home inventory has now built up to like a 3-month high. Lumber prices, though, meanwhile, have dropped considerably. Meanwhile, Redfin and some other real estate companies are laying people off. Meanwhile, mortgage rates are going up now. They're around 6%, which is like 3 times what they were, 3-4 years ago. So, you've got people in financial services, mortgage brokers, they're talking about layoffs. But none of that has really happened because the job numbers are good, So I still hold to what my clients are showing me. And I was just at another manufacturer just last week, Lauren, that it was telling me that they've got customers that are just holding off on buying, because to him, he said people were buying like crazy because they didn't know if they were going to ever get supply again. And now as things are starting to loosen up, they've got too much inventory, so they're holding back on buying. And he said they have a number of customers that are doing that to them. This is a client of mine. And, I see that slowdown is going to be coming, but it's not indicative of the job numbers. So I have no clear answers for you right now. It's very murky.
It really is. I think it's unprecedented. I don't think there's been a situation where you've had the indication that we're moving into a recession at the same time you have an ongoing labor shortage that shows very few signs of letting up.
Yeah. And what's funny about that too is sometimes I really feel like we are being just too harsh on our elected officials and leaders. Again, like I said,
I think that's part of it. I think you're right about that. I think
brutal.
Everybody's angry, everybody's confused, and the hot takes just keep coming, and I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean, people are they're shitting on Jerome Powell and Janet Yellen and all these top economists. How did you not see this? You said inflation was transitory or whatever. I mean, we have this like sort of once in a lifetime pandemic, which obliterated economies around the world, and now we're starting to try to catch up with it. And how do you play for? How do you know? How do you know all? There's just too many unknowns.
Right, and it was the pandemic, and then it was followed by the war, which is ongoing, and obviously that's had an impact.
Yeah. And then there's people they're screaming at the Fed because $6.2 trillion in additional M2 money supply is there, but that was because of stimulus bills and liquidity that was provided, which thank God got us through the pandemic. So nobody was complaining about it then, but now it's there. It's just these people are trying to do their best in a situation where they've got no track record to follow. Do you know what I mean? It's tough.
All right. I want to ask you about something we've talked about in the past, which is the State Small Business Credit Initiative. You introduced me to it. It's $50 billion of government money that is still directed at small businesses ultimately, although through the states. The states administer it, as you explained to me. I've been telling people about this. A lot of the business owners I've talked to feel a little bit frustrated. They're having trouble figuring out how this works for them. Do you know anybody who's actually been able to get the money? Where do we stand?
No, and there's a good. First of all, it's $10 billion that has been made available because of the CARES Act, or not the CARES Act, the American Families Act, one of the stimulus bills. So it's $10 billion.
I said 50. It's just 10.
Correct. What's 40 billion between friends,
Right.
okay? So the $10 billion itself is coming from the federal government to the states. Each state is getting their share based on a formula of whatever. And the states then are distributing this money to organizations within their states who are then going to get this money out to small businesses in the form of some grants, some equity investments, and loans, like maybe even below market loans, but loans to businesses that otherwise couldn't get loans from banks. So it's a lot of liquidity that's coming out for small businesses. Great. Yes, some of it is going to be going to minority businesses, so that's also fine, but it's going to be available for all businesses. And I stress the word gonna, because it's not available yet right now. I mean, the money is just starting to be released. I wrote about this in the Inquirer just last month. The gates are starting to open, and it's going to be released as $10 billion really over the next probably 2 years before it's all been distributed. So it's not like this gusher of money just suddenly came out and now they're going to turn around and spend it. Secondly, a lot of the states are trying to catch up and identify the organizations that are going to get the money, and the organizations have to apply for the money. So there's that process too. You would think they would have had all this together last year because they knew it was coming, but no. So they're kind of behind in doing that too. So what I wrote about a couple times, and the advice that I've been giving a couple times, is if you're looking for the money or the funding, identify the organizations in your state that are apt to get the money. And these are generally community banks, CDFIs, community deposit, federal financing institutions, local nonprofits that support small businesses. You got to Google around for the organizations that are expected to get this money, and then start reaching out to them now so you get put on the waiting list like it's a restaurant. And that way you can start building a relationship with those organizations, maybe providing whatever information they might require in advance, and just being ready for it. But you might not see the money until later this year or even sometime into 2023.
It's frustrating because it's not like you can say, just go to the SBA and
nope, it's not SBA.
That's where you apply and you find out whether you qualify or not. It's different in every state, right?
Yeah, it's different in every state. But listen, if it was so easy, everybody'd be doing it. You got to hustle a little bit, do a little bit of research, investigate in your state. It won't be the best place. I would recommend that you start is call up a small business development corporation in the state, an SBDC. Those SBDCs, they're part of the SBA, but they're there as a free resource. And there's multiple ones in every state, generally associated with colleges and universities. Like in Philly, there's a really good one at Temple University. And if you talk to the right person at the SBDC and ask them, they're probably not going to get any of the money, but they're going to be aware of the organizations that are going to be getting this funding, and they can point you in the right direction. And that's probably the best advice I have.
Excellent. All right, Gene, we know you're going to be visiting with the funeral directors. Anything else you're working on that we should know about? Stories we should look for?
One big word for you. It's an acronym. PEP.
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 PEP. Pooled Employer Plans, Lauren. Get ready. I'm going to blow your mind. Get ready.
Can you define it for us?
I'm writing about it next week, and maybe we'll talk about it when we.
You just got to tell us what it is.
It is because of the Secure Act. Organizations are allowed to pool 401k plans funds all together and take over the fiduciary responsibility. So, for example, say you've got a payroll company that you use, ADP or Paychex or whatever. You can get your 401k through them. They will have a whole bunch of their clients with all their assets commingled. And that organization takes all responsibility for the reporting, the audits, and the fiduciary duties. It's no longer on the heads and shoulders of you, the small business owner, which significantly decreases your costs and your liability for having a 401k plan.
Interesting.
So it's a big deal. And it's a lot of companies are moving in that direction. And I'm writing about it next week, what you want to be aware of and why you want to take advantage of them.
We will look for that article, and I'm sure we will talk about it here on Dashboard after it comes out. Thank you, Gene. Gene Marks is a CPA who writes weekly on small business for The Guardian, The Hill, The Philadelphia Inquirer, The Washington Times, Forbes, and Entrepreneur. You can also hear him on ABC Radio's Eye on the World with John Batchelor. Gene hosts 2 small business podcasts with Paychex Corporation and The Hartford. And he spends a lot of time on Twitter, although he doesn't recommend that you market on it. Thank you, Gene.
Thanks, Lauren. We'll see you soon.
Appreciate it.